Welcome viewers. We are here at the Asian Conference Center Shillong, where a new center for Bay of Bengal studies has been established today. This center will enrich policy dialogue and policy initiatives regarding one of the most important strategic landscape in the world, that is Bay of Bengal. To discuss more on this, joining here with me is the Secretary General of BIMSTEC, that is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, that is organization. His Excellency Indra Mani Pandey sir. He is a career diplomat belonging to 1990 batch of Indian Foreign Service. He has served as India's permanent representative at the United Nations and many other international organizations at Geneva. During his 33-year-long tenure, he has been an ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. Before his stint at Muscat, he has been a deputy ambassador of India to France and Consul General of India at Guangzhou, China. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, and my greetings to your audience.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Asian Confluence is driving research and policy dialogue in India's northeast, and now the Bay of Bengal Center has been established here today, adding a new dimension to it. How do you see the newly established Center for Bay of Bengal Studies enriching policy dialogue and discussions for the larger Bay of Bengal region?
So, before I talk about the center, let me briefly introduce to your audience what BIMSTEC is all about.
Sure, sir.
It was established 28 years ago in June 1997 by 4 countries, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Thailand coming together. It was conceived as a platform to link South Asia with Southeast Asia, because countries like India and Bangladesh were looking east, and countries from Southeast Asia also wanted to have close ties with South Asia. And later Myanmar joined, and 6 years later Nepal and Bhutan joined. So that is how we have 7 members now, 5 from South Asia and 2 from Southeast Asia. BIMSTEC has been conceived as a multi-sectoral organization. So we have a number of sectors for cooperation on our agenda. It's an organization which is based on consensus among the member states and is led by ministries of foreign affairs. We have in every sector expert groups, joint working groups. We have negotiated plans of action for collective work by all the member states. We have negotiated even conventions and agreements with the consensus among all the member states. We have set up centers of excellence, and we are continuing with our tangible cooperation on the ground in various sectors on our agenda. So it's an organization which works for the welfare, both security and development of all the 7 member states. To answer your question now about Bay of Bengal Center, it's a very good initiative because we need all the stakeholders coming together and talking about the opportunities for regional cooperation, the benefits that region can derive from that cooperation, what are the pathways to carry forward that cooperation. And this Bay of Bengal Center located here in Shillong will be able to provide that platform. More importantly, it will be able to bring scholars, academics, government representatives, private sector from our very important northeastern region and eastern India on this platform to be able to analyze and then delineate what are the interests and priorities of the northeastern states, and how that then can be factored into whatever BIMSTEC is trying to do. So from BIMSTEC perspective, it's a very important initiative.
Rightly said, sir. Northeast is a very important aspect of India's Act East policy also. Absolutely. And for BIMSTEC also. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said at the 5th BIMSTEC summit that BIMSTEC not only connects the South Asia with Southeast Asia, but also connects the two most important ecologies, that is Great Himalaya and the Bay of Bengal. And Northeast lies at the confluence of this. So how do you see Northeast contributing to the trade, development, prosperity and connectivity of Bay of BIMSTEC countries, and in return how do you see Northeast getting benefited from BIMSTEC?
So actually what you mentioned is absolutely right. We have the ecosystem of mountains, and 4 of our member states are part of that ecosystem. So India, Nepal, Bhutan and Myanmar. Then we have Bay of Bengal, and then Bangladesh, Thailand and Myanmar and Sri Lanka are part of that Bay of Bengal ecosystem. Whatever happens in the mountains has impact on Bay of Bengal, and whatever happens in Bay of Bengal has impact on mountain ecosystem and the plains in between. And that's why it's very important that this entire region is looked at as one entity in terms of developing connectivity, creating opportunities for trade and investment, tourism, dealing with the challenges of climate change, particularly disaster management, adaptation to the climate change, so that we can deal with those challenges in a holistic manner. Now our northeastern states are very important actor and also beneficiary from the cooperation that we have in under BIMSTEC. Why actor? Because a lot of the connectivity that we are conceiving or the trade links will have to go through the northeastern states. So they become the main actors, and at the same time they will also be the beneficiary, because if there is more trade in the region, if there is more tourism, if there is more travel, ultimately our states in this part of India will benefit. So that's why BIMSTEC not only brings in our northeastern state as key actors, but also as key beneficiaries.
Rightly said, sir. Sir, many BIMSTEC countries have gone through domestic upheavals in the recent past. May it be Myanmar, may it be Nepal, may it be Bangladesh, may it be Sri Lanka. So how does these domestic upheavals affect the functioning and the agenda of BIMSTEC?
There is no impact on BIMSTEC as far as development in the domestic politics of our member states is concerned. What BIMSTEC signifies is the collective commitment of the member states to work regionally and benefit from regional cooperation. So they believe that regional cooperation will be beneficial for them. The agenda has been derived collectively. The plans of action have been decided collectively. So implementation of these plans of action is considered beneficial by all the member states, and that's why in spite of the political changes in our member state, there has been no negative impact on cooperation under BIMSTEC framework. All our meetings have been taking place on a regular basis. All our other activities aimed at capacity building, knowledge sharing have also been taking place as usual. So we are in that sweet spot where as an organization we continue to function on the ground and engage in tangible cooperation irrespective of political changes in our member states.
Rightly said, sir. The sweet spot, because diplomacy enables a sweet spot and to progress forward. Sir, BIMSTEC countries agreed for a free trade agreement in 2004, and a lot of negotiations have been happening since then. Is there any, can we expect any FTA deal among the BIMSTEC countries in the near future finalizing, especially when the SAARC free trade agreement has not taken off as expected?
So there is a commitment on part of all our member states to push forward with the negotiations. There are 6 working groups negotiating separately. This in trade, in services, in investments, dedicated to customs cooperation, trade facilitation, and rules of origin and dispute settlement. We have made progress in these areas, not at the same level. In some negotiations, we are very close to reach the closure. In other negotiations, we need to give more attention to them. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to make progress, and there is no requirement for us to conclude all the 6 tracks together. We can conclude separately these constituent agreements depending on the progress that we make. However, the key goal is to have more intra-BIMSTEC trade, and establishing more business-to-business linkages is another way to realize that goal. And that's why in recent years there has been focus on reviving business-to-business linkages. So in 2023 in Kolkata, there was a BIMSTEC Business Conclave which was hosted by Indian Chamber of Commerce. In 2024, there was a BIMSTEC Business Summit hosted by CII in New Delhi. And Honorable Prime Minister in his address at the BIMSTEC Summit made a commitment that this BIMSTEC Business Summit will be held regularly. So our focus is also on enhancing intra-BIMSTEC trade and investment through these business-to-business dialogues. There is also a proposal to set up a BIMSTEC business chamber, which will bring the business communities together, provide a platform for a dialogue among them, and then that will lead to more trade and investment. So we are working towards that goal.
Okay, sir. This BIMSTEC business chamber will definitely help across the businesses across the country and across the Northeast also. So moving forward, the question I want to ask is, can BIMSTEC emerge for India an alternative for SAARC, especially because BIMSTEC has an advantage of connectivity to Indo-Pacific and also connectivity to Southeast Asian countries through Bay of Bengal and absence of a problematic member.
So let's look at the BIMSTEC as an organization in its own context and not in context of any other organization. When it was conceived in 1997, it was conceived as an organization that will bring the 2 regions of Asia together, and that's the role it has taken forward by engaging in cooperation on a number of sectors on its agenda, by establishing institutions which can take forward that cooperation, by negotiating agreements and conventions. When we look at Indo-Pacific, we are talking about a vast region. Then when we look at different geographical parts of Indo-Pacific, then we find that Bay of Bengal is almost at the center of Indo-Pacific. And as you mentioned at the beginning, it's very strategically important region for India and for the member states around Bay of Bengal. BIMSTEC signifies that there is a convergence in the interest of India and other 6 member states when it comes to enhancing security or taking forward the agenda of sustainable and resilient development. So BIMSTEC has a very important role to play because it's like a confluence of India's Act East policy, India's neighborhood first policy, India's approach to Indo-Pacific as signified in Sagar, and recently Honorable Prime Minister coined Mahasagar concept. So it's a confluence of all the 3 strands of India's foreign policy, and that is why from India's perspective it's a very important organization. But all our other members equally attach a very high importance to BIMSTEC. At the 6th summit, all 7 member states of BIMSTEC were represented at the Prime Minister's level. which showed that they attach a lot of importance to this organization.
Definitely, sir. In that scenario, how does BIMSTEC plan to synergize the regional policies? Like India has a neighborhood first approach. Also, India has a Act East, especially Act East through Northeast, and then ASEAN has outlook on Indo-Pacific. How does BIMSTEC plan to synergize with these policies for better cooperation?
So we have 2 member states of ASEAN as our member. So there is certainly synergy between interest of ASEAN and BIMSTEC. At the same time, if you look at Indian Ocean Rim Association, 4 of BIMSTEC members are also members of Indian Ocean Rim Association. So BIMSTEC has entered into a memorandum of understanding with Indian Ocean Rim Association, and we have started exploring opportunities for cooperation with ASEAN too. So if we work together, then we can collectively contribute to India's agenda, not only Act East agenda, but also its a broader Indo-Pacific agenda, where India's larger interest in the entire Indo-Pacific region will be served through focus on Bay of Bengal region.
Sure, sir. And sir, BIMSTEC has increasingly discussed cooperation in the field of counter-terrorism, then transnational crimes, then maritime security. So can you shed more light on the initiatives taken by BIMSTEC in these fields?
So given the importance of cooperation in those aspects of security which are regional in nature, for example, counter-terrorism, transnational crimes, drug trafficking, human trafficking, BIMSTEC has focused in its deliberations on those 4 core areas, and under the joint working group on counter-terrorism, drug trafficking and transnational crime, there are 5 subgroups which look at different aspects of this. We have been able to conclude a convention on counter-terrorism, transnational crime and drug trafficking, which is already in force. We have been able to conclude negotiation of another convention on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters, which has been ratified by 5 of our members. 2 members are yet to ratify for it to enter into force. We have already concluded negotiation on convention on human trafficking, and 2 conventions, one on extradition, another on transfer of convicted person, are under negotiation. So we are trying to create these BIMSTEC frameworks for continued cooperation in dealing with some of these security challenges. We have a 5-year action plan for cyber security. We have a separate action plan on combating drug trafficking. We have an action plan for human trafficking. And maritime security has emerged as another area for our cooperation. In maritime security, we are looking at a broad dimension of security, which includes disaster management, which includes blue economy, which includes dealing with marine environment like pollution. So all these aspects are being dealt with the working group focused on maritime security. So we have covered a broad agenda under security framework, and I would like to inform your audience that India will soon be hosting the first meeting of BIMSTEC Home Ministers, where our Home Ministers will look at the existing agenda of security under BIMSTEC framework and will identify what more BIMSTEC needs to do to address some of the challenges which our member state face, and they need to deal with those challenges collectively.
Definitely, sir. In a present connected world order, we have to pool our resources and tackle the transnational crimes which do not have boundaries. So moving, like we spoken about maritime security, and India is like focusing more on its role as the first responder in the region, especially with respect to humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. So, is there any potential for developing a BIMSTEC-led model or framework for maritime governance and disaster management in the future?
In disaster management, certainly we are looking towards creating that kind of opportunity where there could be a BIMSTEC response to disasters in our member states. To give you an example, when earthquake happened in Myanmar, all the other 6 countries, members of BIMSTEC, they provided assistance to Myanmar, but that was on bilateral basis. So the goal in disaster management sector of BIMSTEC is to be able to have a BIMSTEC response to disasters. We are in the process of negotiating an action plan. Already the 4 rounds of disaster management exercises have taken place, and India has offered to set up a center for BIMSTEC Center for Disaster Management, which will then anchor the regional cooperation in disaster management, which is very much required because due to climate change, our region is witnessing more and more natural disasters. In other aspects of maritime cooperation, as I mentioned to you, we have a blue economy sector. There is an expert group which will be meeting soon to decide on the action plan of cooperation in that area. We are looking at how to control oil spill pollution. There will be a set of guidelines. We have already concluded negotiation on HADR guidelines. We have also guiding principles for maritime law enforcement agencies to work together. And at the 6th summit, our member states signed agreement on maritime connectivity also, maritime transport cooperation agreement. So we are looking at maritime space as a very important space for cooperation, and we are looking at all the dimensions of maritime cooperation under BIMSTEC.
Definitely, sir, it will, the maritime cooperation and the cooperation in the field of disaster management and humanitarian assistance will definitely benefit across the 7 BIMSTEC countries.
Absolutely.
And India has been acting as a champion of Global South, and BIMSTEC is one such platform for India to voice the concerns of Global South. So how can you shed some more light on how India is trying to achieve so?
So when we speak about Global South, we are talking about a group of countries which are like India, developing countries, and there are opportunities for these countries to work together as symbolizing South-South cooperation. And BIMSTEC actually very emblematic of that effort of India to work together with other developing countries. So if we look at membership of BIMSTEC, it's India and 6 other developing countries in its neighborhood. So BIMSTEC actually optimizes India's approach to Global South to promote South-South cooperation. And India has been doing so for decades. And India has been assisting other developing countries in whether it's infrastructure project, whether it's capacity building, training, creating opportunities for them to develop more. And BIMSTEC also symbolizes that. BIMSTEC assumes a very high importance only because BIMSTEC brings together with India its 6 other neighbors. If we look at other platforms, India's neighborhood is not so well represented in those platforms, and that's why it has been natural for India to attach a very high importance to BIMSTEC as part of its overall Global South agenda of promoting South-South cooperation, of promoting cooperation among the developing countries. So India's leadership of Global South is through cooperation that it has extended to other countries. and it is accepted by other countries as a natural partner in their developmental journey.
Definitely, sir. India is a natural partner and as a beckoning light of stability and development and democracy to many other countries in the region. So before I finish, the last question to you is, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities do you foresee for BIMSTEC in the coming decade?
I think the challenge, like any other intergovernmental organization, is to how to translate the vision and decisions of our leaders, our foreign ministers, into tangible cooperation on the ground. How to work together with different parts of the governments of our member states on different aspects of our agenda to be able to make tangible progress in those areas. And that is where the Secretariat is focused, to work very closely with the ministries of foreign affairs of our member states and other parts of our member states' governments, so that we can make and continue to make tangible progress on the ground. So for the Secretariat, the mantra is implementation, 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 because we already have a vast agenda, we have mechanisms in place, we have institutions in place, so we need to make progress in implementation of those decisions.
Rightly said, sir. Implementation is the core of any policy. Without implementation, a policy cannot be as effective as it has been designed. Sir, we discussed on many aspects of BIMSTEC and India and Bay of Bengal region. We discussed how BIMSTEC is important for all the neighboring countries of India, how maritime security and cooperation in transnational crime will be beneficial for entire geography of Bay of Bengal region. And we also discussed about the future agendas of BIMSTEC, that is a meeting of all the home ministers to discuss more and give a guidance on the further geopolitical and security agendas. Also, we discussed more about that BIMSTEC is planning to establish a BIMSTEC Chamber of Business, which will also further the agenda of free trade agreement and closer cooperation among all its members. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Excellency, for having this engaging and insightful discussion on BIMSTEC and Bay of Bengal region. Thank you for joining us on DD India and DD Meghalaya.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. I thank Doordarshan for giving opportunity to BIMSTEC Secretariat to speak more about BIMSTEC and to highlight India's role in taking forward regional cooperation under BIMSTEC. Thank you.